All right. Well, now it's 10 o'clock, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the fiscal year 2025 Competitive Commercial Tax Credit webinar. I'm Kate Jaffe. I'm the Administrator of Preservation Financial Incentives at MHT, and I oversee the tax credit program in addition to the easement program. I'm joined today by Carrie Jones, one of our tax credit reviewers, and also Matthew Migliozzi, who is one of our program assistants for the tax credit program. So we are here today as a group. We've got two other folks in our program that aren't attending today, but we will be representing the program for them. So for a brief, I guess Colin Ingraham is on call too. He is our Deputy Director, Chief of the Office of Preservation Services, and he oversees this program as well. So for just a brief general overview, the Maryland Historic Revitalization Tax Credit Program was created in 1996, and we've got 3 different tax credit programs that we administer today. The homeowner, the small commercial, and the competitive commercial. Basically, the tax credit is a refundable state income tax credit on eligible rehabilitation expenditures incurred in the rehabilitation of residential and commercial certified historic structures. Each program has its own requirements, and the best place to find information on those programs is our website, or you can always contact staff. So I'm going to just throw this up here right now, just so you all have our contact information. If you've got general questions about the different tax credit programs that we have, or more specific questions regarding a potential project or design-related guidance, we'd be happy to set up a time to discuss that. But today's webinar is really a conversation that's going to be focused on primarily those applications and applicants that are going to be coming in for this year's round, due in just about a month. So portions of our applications have been updated this year, and this event is really going to provide additional guidance and suggestions to help complete that application and the project worksheets. So we'll go over some of those changes, and then we'll open up for questions on how to fill that out. So again, just a brief overview. This is regarding the competitive commercial program that we administer. This is for large-scale income-producing properties, undertaking substantial rehab projects. This means that eligible expenses exceeding the greater of the adjusted basis value of the structure or $25,000. As most of you may know, the credit is 20% of the eligible rehab expenditures, capped at $5 million. There is a caveat there. If you're interested in some of the supplemental credits, those are also available. So there may be cases where it's above that, but generally it's 20%. Some of the other requirements are that projects must have site control and start within 18 months. They must be completed within 30 months of Part 2 approval. The 30-month timeline can be extended for cause by the director, but that is the only requirement that can be extended. Like we said before, this is an annual competitive program with applications that are due at the end of August every year on the 31st. To that end, our round is now open. We officially opened earlier in June, so all of our applications are now available online. It's the Part 1, the Part 2, and then the worksheet that is within the Part 2. So that's sort of our standard applications that are required. $20 million has been appropriated for this year's round, which is great. And again, like last year, we implemented our new electronic submission process, so that'll be continued this year. So all of the competitive applications and any federal ones that might accompany them, or any federal at all, must be submitted electronically. And to get started with that, we recommend that you reach out to our general mailbox, which is right here on the screen, mht.taxcredits@maryland.gov, to get started with the Microsoft Teams channel, which is how we facilitate uploading of those applications. So that's just sort of a brief overview. Like I said, if you've got more specific questions related to eligibility or timing and things like that, please feel free to reach out. But we'll move on to what is new and fancy this year. So we've got the part 1 and part 2 are basically similar as past years, but where we really concentrated some of our updates was to the fiscal year 25 worksheet. This is embedded in the part 2 application. It's on pages 6 to 10. I'm going to go ahead and click on this link to get us to the actual worksheet. That's a fillable PDF that's on our website. So those familiar with the program, let's make this 50 page, may notice that, and may have filled out this worksheet before, may notice there are things that we're no longer asking for, which follows in the following pages down here. Things like protected by an easement, or if the property is within an urban renewal area, a priority funding area, rural protection, or a Main Street community. Those are things that we have taken out of the application as a requirement for applicants to fill in, mostly because that's information that we have at hand, that we as MHT staff will fill in for you. So it's not to say that those are not going to be important, or that there aren't factors in this, but just that we will be taking care of that for applicants so you can really focus in. And the intent is to allow you as the applicant the opportunity to sell your project above and beyond what might be in the part 1 and the part 2 applications, to create narratives about the things that we may not know about your project, like proposed use, what the existing use is, what the new one will be, some of the items here, notable or unique history that may not have been explained before, notable aspects of design, property ownership, financing. There's a new area here, which we just ask if you could upload 1 or 2 high resolution photographs. If you are awarded, we generally put out a press release, and so these high resolution photos could be used for that purpose or for other promotion of the project. That's just something a little bit new. So all projects are compared to each other. So this worksheet is really a way that you can explain why your project is better than everyone else's. This is not something that should be overlooked. The worksheet, we evaluate this in tandem with the part 1 and 2. So this is really where you can make your project shine. It shouldn't really be an afterthought. This is just as important as the part 1 and 2. So we really are trying to encourage applicants to be able to put their best foot forward on what they include and how they include it. So here is a new section. So we've got a couple new sections, including how your project may align with the governor's priorities, whether the goals or requirements of your project could involve green energy or energy conservation. These sections have been added to be able to allow you all to explain why your project is not only great for meeting the standards, but also how it may fit in with some of the larger goals of the state of Maryland that the governor has prioritized, and just how your project might be thinking of a larger picture that we may not know about. So these really are open-ended, and that's on purpose to allow for the greatest flexibility. We may not know the best way for you all to answer this. This is your time to be creative, focusing in on perhaps a few of the priorities, not necessarily all. Less could be more. If your project may not meet all 10, that is fine. It doesn't have to, but just, if you've got 1 or 2 that you really are focusing on, like, how your project may be in a concentrated area of child poverty or a proximity to mass transit. So picking out one or two of those to really develop it could be a strategy for you. This is the green energy section. So again, it's to the extent that your project could involve any type of green energy, or how it might need to be meet a local energy standard or something along those lines, or some unique, fun, new technology that we're not aware of yet. This is where you could shine. This is where you could put that information. And again, it's meant to be very open-ended. So if you've got more specific questions, we can certainly go over those, but it's not, we may not have all the answers either. And this is really, this is the first year we're going to be doing this. So it's really going to lead to how we handle it for next competitive rounds through the future. You'll see some our old mainstays, like rare example of architecture, level of preservation, urgency of need. These are three biggies that we really stress that you should, develop a sound narrative for these. Generally, we would encourage you to, think strategically. We talked a little bit about that with, picking maybe a couple to focus in on rather than more that aren't as clearly defined for priority wise. Trying to be thoughtful and paint the best picture of your project. Really kind of hone in on what your project, why your property is so rare, or in terms of level of preservation, if there are historic features missing, you're not forced to put those back. But if you are, that could be a more compelling project, because not only are you, putting it back into a state of utility, but you're restoring missing features, or you're turning it back to what it was at one point in history, or taking out, a non-historic, non-contributing addition, something like that. So thinking of ways to be creative there. If you still have remaining features, really playing that up. For like rare example of architecture, it's really more than, not just saying CNR listing. Why is your building important? Why your warehouse stands out compared to all others. You could play into your location, why being one of 100 row homes in Baltimore may be more special, but or being one of something in like Hyattsville per se is more special, but 1 out of 100 in Baltimore City isn't as special. So you kind of have to think, out of the box to really hone in on your uniqueness, your history of why your building is better than another building that might look the same or be in the same state of deterioration. With urgency of need, again, it's not always that there's structural integrity issues. It could be issues of safety or of blight or of a demolition order, or trying to be creative. And even if your building is not at the stage where it will fall down, how can you make it, urgency in another way to make it compelling? So the rest of these are mostly ones that we had asked for before, but we've opened it up more. Instead of asking for like a checkbox or a map to be submitted, we've created more of a narrative for you to describe the project. So I think at this point, I think we can open it up for questions about any specific, more explanation needed, or, any, now that you've seen kind of, these are the changes that we've implemented, let us know what your questions are. We are recording this and we'll be posting it on YouTube so that you can reference it at your leisure, or if you couldn't attend today, it will be up there. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now just so I can see all your lovely faces when you ask the questions. But before that, let's just go back and I'll put up the our contact page again, just one more time. This will take you to the main tax credit website. From there, you can get links to each of the programs. You can find the electronic applications. And then here are Carrie and my information. We've got more people in the program, so you can also email our general mailbox, which again was mht.taxcredits@maryland.gov. Okay. And actually, before that, Carrie, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or we could just start round robin answering questions, and we'll both kind of fill in as needed. All right, let's see if I can. Okay. It looks like Julie has her hand raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So my question is about eligibility. What does it mean to be a certified property versus a contributing structure? I always get lost in all of that.
Sure. Yeah. This actually might be one question that we can circle back to. If you wanted to reach out to us by email, we can go over that more in detail for you, so you know if this is something you're eligible for. I kind of want to focus the questions mostly on how to fill out the application. Go ahead, Carrie.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie, and as Kate said, I'm also one of the tax credit reviewers. And just to kind of jump off on what Kate was saying, we are happy to answer individual questions. So Julie, you asked about eligibility. Feel free to email either of us both the address of the building and also some general questions, and we would be happy to answer those. But as Kate mentioned, we're trying to keep this focus on the competitive commercial program.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like Virginia. Let's see, maybe.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure.
Okay. For the restorations, is there a required number of restoration proposals that are needed, or can you submit one project proposal for consideration?
It's kind of more of a specific question, but generally it's for a full project of a building.
But do you just need that one contractor, or would you need multiple bids?
That is something we can kind of, if you wanted to email us, that's getting a little specific about the property. And yeah, Carrie.
Hi, this is Carrie again. I'm going to jump in for a second and just say, this is not a grant, this is a tax credit. And one of the major differences, besides the fact that you will expend the expenses yourself and then get the refund via a tax credit, is that we don't review contractor bids. You're going to submit a proposal for the rehabilitation to us, and you're going to tell us, you know, this building, this is the existing condition of the building, this is the proposed new use, and we are going to be determining whether or not the proposed use meets the Secretary of the Interior standards. But unlike a grant program, we don't need 3 contractor bids, and we're not going to be reviewing those.
Okay, great, thank you.
Looks like Earl.
So I'm a little bit new to this program. We have a property in Maryland and it's under construction now. And I spoke to my contractors that said that before work begins, you need to review the work so that we don't do anything incorrectly, such as use foam insulation as opposed to other type of insulation. We are under pressure to complete, you know, that's part of the project because it was, what's the word, not abandoned, but it was, you know, it had a terrible fire. So we're under pressure to rebuild. does that negate me from making any attempt to get a tax credit? And we have no profit because the building has been empty for about 2 years.
Mhm.
So I just want to understand at what stage do I engage you to try to get any tax credits, and have I passed that point because I'm now in the midst of construction?
Mhm.
I don't know whether that disqualifies me.
Generally, yes. Our statute requires that we must review and approve all work in advance in order for the expenses to be eligible. So for the competitive commercial, there are times possibly when the project may have a federal approval beforehand. In that case, it would be okay if you started work, but generally for this program, if you start work, that means that you would not be eligible to apply.
Okay, so because I'm already in the middle of the project, I haven't gotten pre-approval, so to speak, I couldn't apply.
Correct. Yeah. If there's work that you have not started to undertake, if it's a different type of program, there are cases when you could come back in, but for this program specifically, we'd need to review and approve it beforehand, or else you're kind of out of contention for the program. Carrie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I was just going to add that generally we have to review and approve all work prior to starting across the board for all of our tax credit programs. If it's an income producing property and you meet the requirements for the federal program, you might be eligible. And I would encourage you to email Kate and I, and we can sort of talk about your program, the specifics of your project.
So we've had it, I've applied for other grants at the city level, which I've been approved for, but they kind of referred me to you at the state level. And, but now, we're under some timelines to get things completed. So,
Yep. Yeah, I would encourage you to contact Kate and I by email, and we can talk about the specifics of your project.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if I have your emails directly, but
I've put them in the chat.
Yeah, Carrie was.
it's in the chat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can also find all of our email addresses on our website, which is basically mht.maryland.gov.
Okay. Let's find the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think Karen Kegelman has had her hand up for a while. I don't know if you can see her on
Sorry
your
about that.
screen, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, Karen. Didn't mean to overlook you there.
It's all right. What is your preference? The application says that you would like to be familiar with the project before we apply. So would you like us to just email you the details, or would you want us to set up a Zoom with you to talk about it?
Yeah, I think we always encourage early and often contact about potential projects. This really is helpful so that we're familiar with your project and can help you identify any, concerning areas of concern, or also just ways to kind of make your project more compelling, or beef up different sections, or include certain information. We can start out with an email. If you, like Carrie had said, email about like the address, kind of overview of the project, and then we can set up a call or a site visit too, to come out, because it's even more important to kind of experience the property to understand some of the changes, because a lot of these are larger scale, so it's kind of hard to experience by a photo or a slideshow or something like that. But yes,
and I'm thinking because construction's not going to start for a little while, that we don't have to feel pressured to have this in this month, because we can always, as long as you're familiar with the project, etc., we can apply next year, because it's a reimbursement, right?
Right. We would, if we start looking at it now, we can help get you to the point, if there's not enough time to apply for this round, you can then apply to the next year. If it is income producing, we can also look at, if you're interested in the federal program, we could pursue that in the interim year. And then if you've gotten approval ready from the federal and it's that much easier to then have all the information at hand to then apply for the competitive one.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. All right, I'm not seeing any more unless I'm not reading it right. See any others that come up. If not, again, this will be posted on YouTube. All of our information will be either on the website or through there. And please feel free to reach out for your specific project. If you're ready to submit, you can always contact us before submitting so we can take a look at what you're contemplating if we haven't talked to you yet. You know, if you want feedback on formatting or how to go about certain things, or even if you're at a stage where you've got preliminary drawings, if you contact us now, we're likely to be able to give you feedback. If you wait until the 24th, we may not have enough time to really dig deep into the project. So any questions you have, I'd encourage you to reach out sooner rather than later. And yeah, other than that, happy applying. All right.